A couple weeks ago, we made a video on this channel talking about the collapse of the German government. Well, now we are in the repercussions of that. We have an election in Germany coming up in just a week, February 23rd. It will be an election at the federal level, and it will create the new standing of the Bundestag, or whatever their parliament's called over there.
Pretty good.
In their fake language. Thank you. We have a German audience, so I apologize for saying that. I'm just joking. But the election results are not looking good for people who are on the left or in the center or believe that the European Union should continue to exist. The CDU is in first place right now, 1 week before the election. They're sitting around 29%. Then in second place, shockingly, truly, the AFD, the Alternative for Deutschland, is now at 22. Yeah, shockingly. Not that shocking.
Yeah.
22%.
Disappointingly.
Then you have the SPD at around 16, the Greens at around 13. Then at the bottom, you have the FDP, the Left Party, and the BSW, the new anti-populist left-wing movement growing there. But the Left Party is having a strong resurgence in the final weeks here of this campaign, which I think is notable. I think it's a great example of the Social Democrats, of Olaf Scholz, the current prime minister, failing to address the fundamental issues that are leading to this type of nationalist movement taking place. The Left Party is really speaking to that type of suffering that's going on in East Germany and that economic degradation.
Well, so is the AFD, and I think we should give credit to that, right?
Yes. However, the AFD's solutions are blame brown people and lower taxes on rich.
Exactly.
Right?
It's the classic far-right strategy of speaking to the issues but not having real and workable solutions to the issues.
Yeah. So now that is where the standings are. Now we have to get into what's probably most likely going to happen at the end of this. The CDU is most certainly going to come in first place. I don't think that. The leader, Merz, will become the prime minister. But then it's all about who he decides to work with. And there are basically two avenues for him. There is either the avenue that most of Europe expects. He makes some form of alliance with the SPD, the Social Democrats, and the Greens. Or he shocks the world and shocks his nation by making an alliance with the Alternative for Deutschland. In most circumstances, I would not think he would do so. Germany has a long-standing tradition of not working with far-right political entities due to their past. And Merz has made clear that he is going to uphold that. However, in the past month, he has weakened that stance. He has recently passed a new asylum law bill that contradicts European Union law generally, and he got it passed with the support of votes from the Alternative for Deutschland. So that is breaking the firewall. Now, in response to this, a lot of members of the nation naturally freaked out. Specifically, the leader of the Left Party, while the CDU was giving a speech, she interrupted him, screaming from the seats, saying that he was a fascist, and the Left Party erupted into the song "To the Barricades," which is a famous revolutionary song. However, I also think there is a bad case scenario that can happen from the CDU joining in an alliance with the SPD and the Greens by nothing moving.
Yes, which has been the case in the German government, and is the reason that the German government collapsed for the past at least 2 years, I believe.
Yep. The SPD, the previous coalition was the SPD, the Greens, and the FDP. The FDP are a liberal, quote-unquote, party, but not in the sense of an American liberal. No. We're talking about like a classical liberal, someone who believes in a completely balanced budget, believing in a debt break. If you're not German, that basically means that you can only spend a certain amount of money, percent of your GDP a year under all circumstances. The Left Party obviously wants to get rid of the debt break. They want to invest in infrastructure. They want to build more affordable housing. And the SPD, the Social Democrats, did not work with the left. They worked with the FDP, the liberals, and it caused them to have a weak government that was paralyzed, did not do much of anything. And that is what will happen in a CDU-SPD government.
Yeah.
And that do nothing is only going to enrage more Germans more.
It's going to fuel support for the far right and to some extent probably the far left parties, the AFD and the left, just for the matter of doing something. This is where the main tension now lies in not only German politics, but I think European politics generally, is that there is one axis of like, okay, what do you think should actually be done? And then there's one axis that is like, how much can you do? Right? There's like, what is your position? What do you think is right versus like, how hard will you go? How much, what means will justify your ends?
Yes. And now a lot of these right-wing parties are looking to America and they're seeing Donald Trump and they're like, oh man, we could do anything if we just have the balls to do it.
Not to mention, I think a party like the CDU is probably hearing the explicit pressure that Trump and recently J.D. Vance is now kind of speaking into existence for Europe to allow these far-right parties into their governments.
Yeah.
And maybe thinking, if I'm really going to be doing the right thing for my country, I'm going to want American support. And I'm going to be able to buy some American goodwill if I let these parties into my government.
Who would have thought buying American goodwill involved letting the neo-Nazis into government? Who would have thought? You know what? That's a little that's a little American-centric of me, because Hitler did get his entire Jewish ghetto plan from how we treated black people in the South. So I guess we've been Nazis all along.